Pokemon Black and White 2. Some may consider it to be the best installments in the Pokemon franchise, and for many like me, Generation 5 was the beginning of my Pokemon adventures. My very first game that I popped into my Nintendo DSi XL was Pokemon White, and it's pretty safe to say that I played this game religiously. I liked Pokemon so much that over the course of several years, I also played the heck out of my other saves as well. I always find myself coming back to these games every couple of years to play through it once again in order to relive some sweet nostalgia, as new Pokemon games just don't give me the same enjoyment or spark anymore. However, everyone knows that beating any Pokemon game is a cakewalk, and every time I come back to play these games, it seems to get easier and easier. So, in order to challenge myself this time around, I decided to play through Pokemon Black 2 with only shinies. This can be seen as a tedious task, as in this game, the shiny odds are 1 in 8,192, unlike the 1 in 4,096 in modern games. Additionally, I decided to add Hardcore Nuzlocke rules to add even more of a challenge, and to add stakes to every battle, even the ones that may seem unimportant in the progression of the story. But, without further ado, I present my Pokemon Black 2 Hardcore Shinylocke. I start the game by introducing myself to Professor Juniper as Luke. I added these PictoChat stars around my name since I'm doing shiny only and it seems fitting. My journey starts in Aspertia City after my mom tells me that I can go get my first Pokemon from a lady named Bianca. I meet up with my rival Hugh and he follows me to the Aspertia City lookout on the top of a cliff, and this is where I start my long first hunt for my starter. I save right in front of Bianca and decide to hunt for Tepig. The reason I decide to hunt for Tepig is because I think its shiny slightly edges out the other starters, so I have to betray my favorite starter, Oshawott, and begin hunting. I sat at my desk hunting and watching YouTube videos for what seemed like forever, until after 23 hours and 3,698 resets later, I finally found my shiny Tepig, and now I can start making progress in the actual story. Oh my god. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to give Tepig a nickname because if I were to do so, this hunt would have taken forever, so we're stuck with the default, but that's okay. I take down Hugh in my first rival fight and head back into town to receive some tips from Bianca and get a pair of running shoes and an extra town map to give to Hugh when I see him next. Bianca takes me to Route 19 to show me how to catch Pokemon, and on my way to Flossissy Town, a crazy man jumps off a cliff and introduces himself as Alder and informs me about his Pokemon school in the town. I then head over to Route 20 looking for Hugh while smacking up some trainers and making it to Flossissy Ranch, where I encounter Hugh for the second time. I was a little worried about this fight as I forgot about it and didn't heal. Another worry of mine was the fact that Oshawott was level 8 and had learned Water Gun, but to my surprise, Hugh completely throws and forgets about his type advantage and doesn't even use Water Gun, allowing me to clean him up with a Tail Whip and some tackles. Hugh and I then search for the lost herdier of the local ranchers and end up finding it trapped in the corner with a Neo Team Plasma member. The grunt gets angry with me and lets out his anger by throwing a TM at me? I don't know, everyone expresses themselves differently I guess. I then have to head back to Aspertia City to challenge Sharon for her first gym badge. But before I do that, I decided to start my second hunt here in Flossissy Ranch. Ideally, the best Pokemon we could find to help us with our upcoming gym challenge would be a Riolu. However, finding this would require an insane amount of luck, as Riolu is only a 5% encounter in the ranch. Compensating for my relatively fast hunt for Tepig, and after a whopping 12,900 encounters, I finally found a shiny Pidove. Oh my freaking god. Oh my god. That is a shiny Pidove. I named my new Pidove Eva, and although this isn't what I wanted, this was still a 10% encounter, which made it still pretty rare, and Pidove shiny is pretty good in my opinion. I entered the gym and made quick work of his students, and was able to brute force my way through the battle with Tepig, and with a quick switch into Eva, we acquired our first gym badge. While making it through the other half of Route 20, I discovered my Tepig got Pokerus. This virus is significantly more rare than a shiny, as Pokerus is only found on approximately every 1 out of 22,000 Pokemon. Wait a minute, 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 wait a... What? Pokerus doubles the amount of EVs a Pokemon can get during a battle, which can help us if we ever need or want to EV train. I entered Virbank City and ran into the gym leader who was getting into a fight with her dad. However, we cannot give Roxy any advice on how to handle this situation, as our goal in Virbank City is to challenge and beat the second gym leader. But before I challenge Roxy and her poison types, I decided to start yet another hunt, this time in Virbank Complex. After exploring the complex, Tepig evolved into the Pig Knight, and it was now time to start another hunt. The best encounter I can get here would be a Magnemite, but it only has a 20% encounter right here. However, we can use passive abilities from other Pokemon in the leading party slot to increase the odds to the encounter we want. So, I decided to catch a Magnemite with the ability Magnet Pull to increase the odds of finding a Magnemite to about 60%. I know this is technically no longer a shiny only, but I won't be using this Magnemite in any battles or gym challenge, so I mean, is it really cheating? Unfortunately, while starting the hunt, I realized that other Magnemite with the ability Magnet Pull would prevent me from escaping battle. So, I had to ditch the Magnemite and go all the way back to Flossusy Ranch to get a Mareep with the static ability. This would do the same thing as Magnet Pull without preventing me from escaping battle, and with this new Mareep, I can finally start my new hunt. Luckily, I was able to find a shiny Magnemite after 10,806 encounters, which meant that my efforts to catch a Mareep weren't for nothing. Oh my god, shiny Magnemite! Oh my god! I named our Magnemite Sigmund, trained him up, and went into Roxy's gym to challenge her. I entered the gym, took care of Roxy's band, and we started our battle. Roxy led with her coughing, which I paralyzed and took out with a couple of sonic booms. Last was her Whirlipede, which I similarly paralyzed and took out with some sonic booms, which gave us our second gym badge. I then had to sit through the agonizing unskippable Pokestar Studios part of the story, which I will never be visiting again. After around 30 minutes, I was able to leave the place and head back into Virbank City, where I took care of some plasma runs before making my way to Castelia City. Once I got there, I got a bike from a clown and explored the city a bit. While exploring, I found the name Raider and finally gave our Pig Knight the name Tony. Before challenging the gym leader, I had to take care of some business in the Castelia sewers, where some grunts were hiding and causing trouble, and in the process of doing so, our Pidove evolved into a Tranquil. And with that out of the way, it was time to challenge Burge for our third gym badge. I entered the gym and made a fool of the clowns that were in my way, and went up to fight Burge. Burge was a pushover, as a couple of flame charges were all it took to sweep his team. After acquiring our third gym badge, we went north towards Route 4 to fight Colress. Colress was no match for Tony, as he swept his weak steel types, and we continued our push through Route 4. While fighting this random roughneck, we had our very first close call of the run, as we were trapped in a battle with Sigmund, who was on his last stand. Oh, this is so not good. Oh my god, bro. After narrowly escaping that battle, we had yet another close call on the way back to the Pokemon Center, as the Pokemon breeder's Meryl hit a critical hit that brought us dangerously low. Meryl knows roll out. Oh, did nothing. Oh, this is so bad. Oh my god, this is actually bad. Wait, second roll out, we're fine. Oh my god! What the get me out of here, please. After yet another close call, I made it through the rest of Route 4 and the Desert Resort with ease before arriving in Masa City. But before fighting Elisa, I decided to add another member to my team. The Pokemon that I am hunting next is so good that it literally got banned in competitive Pokemon because of how good it was, and if we were able to find this Pokemon, the rest of this run would be substantially easier. The Pokemon I am talking about is none other than Drillbur. In order to find this Pokemon, I made my way back to Castelia City and started hunting for dust clouds in the Relic Passage. To find a dust cloud, you need to run around and wait for one to appear. However, you will run into wild Pokemon if you don't have repels, so I bought some repels and started running around in the passage. I used a trick where if I ran out of repels, I would reset my game to get my repels back, so I never ran out. This hunt was awful, as it took around a minute per dust cloud and only what seemed like every 3 dust clouds we would get an encounter. But luckily for us, we found it really early after only 939 encounters.
Wait, what? That's so early!
We named our Drillbur Marley, and trained up our team for the upcoming gym battle. While training on Route 16, we had yet another close call when we encountered a Cinccino. Had the Cinccino hit us with a 5th tail whip, we definitely would have lost Marley for sure. We trained up the rest of the way to the level cap, and entered the gym to fight Elisa. She was no match for Marley, as a couple of digs and a rock slide took out all of our Pokemon, earning us the Bolt badge, and Marley ended up evolving after the battle as well. After that, we started making our way to Driftville City, taking down some Plasma Grunts along the way. Once we arrived, we met up with Old Team Plasma, and one of their leaders gave us Anzora after defeating him. Obviously, this isn't, nor can it be shiny, so we won't be using this Pokemon at all during this run. Realizing the challenge looming over us in the city, I decided to add yet another team member to help us with the upcoming gym battle. I decided to hunt for a Frillish, as my current team would struggle immensely against Play's Pokemon. In Black and White 2, Frillish can be found in Virbank City, but unfortunately we run into a problem with this. Frillish can only be found here while surfing on the water. So, I used a trick which involved breeding and passing down egg moves on a different copy that I owned in order to get an egg with the Basculin that knows the move Surf. I then traded the Basculin over to this file and started my hunt for a Frillish. Once again, this might be seen as technically cheating, but I really don't care, as once again, I am doing this run for fun. Another question that might pop up in some of your minds is the fact that I already caught a Pokemon in Virbank City. Technically I did, but I caught Magnemite in the Virbank Complex, not Virbank City, where the surfing spot is. So by rule, this is a valid encounter under the Nuzlocke rules. This hunt turned out to be just as long as the P-Dove hunt, taking us a whopping 12,652 encounters, and finding our Frillish meant we could finally continue on with the story. Oh my god, shiny Frillish. We named our new Frillish Frank and started training him and the rest of our team to get ready for Clay. While training, both Eva and Sigmund evolved into an Unpheasant and a Magneton. I quickly made my way through Clay's mines, and after defeating all of his way too joyful miners, it was finally time to challenge Clay for the Quake badge. I started the battle off with Frank against Clay's Krokorok. Frank forced Clay to use his Hyper Potion and took a big crunch before taking Krokorok down. Clay then sent out his Excadrill, which I took this opportunity to use Recover to gain a little more HP. Clay then threw the battle by using Metal Claw, allowing me to hit him with the strong Water Pulse while also hitting him with the Confusion. Since Excadrill used Metal Claw and was now confused, I decided to use Recover once again to get to full HP. Excadrill then hit himself twice with Confusion, which allowed me to take out his Sandslash with no problems, earning us the Quake badge. I took a small detour to the Pokemon World Tournament and became the champion before continuing on to Route 6 to Misrallen City. Route 6 was very eventful as we got the HM Surf, giving it to Frank, we ran into Cobalion, Tony evolved into an Emboar, and when we got in the Charge Zone Cave, Sigmund evolved into a Magnezone. After making it out of Charge Zone Cave, we made our way to Route 7 to train up our team where we almost lost Eva to a critical hit Crush Claw. I then trained my team up to the level cap after taking down the pilots in Skyla's gym, meaning it was already time to challenge Skyla for the Jet Badge. Going into the battle, I knew it was going to be a sweep as Marley O-coded Skyla's Swoobat and Swanna. I then switched into Sigmund to clean up Skarmory, which took quite some time due to Skarmory's high defense and Magnezone's low attack stat. After earning the Jet Badge, we made our way to Lentonmoss Town with Professor Juniper, where we then explored Reversal Mountain with Bianca, and made our way to Undalin Town to fight Hugh. I won't go over this fight in detail, as there was never really a threat imposed by Hugh. After fighting Hugh, I decided to explore around Untelatown, and ran into some pretty interesting story directors that I had previously never known about, which I thought was pretty funny. While exploring, we had yet another close call with Eva in a triple battle, hanging on in the red zone. After that close call, we made our way to Lacunosa Town to learn a bit about the legendary dragon Pokemon of Unova before taking down some Plasma members again. After defeating Zinzolin and his Grunt, we made it to Opelucid City where I decided to hunt for my 6th team member. I decided to go back to Route 6 and into the Misrallen Cave for my next team member. Here, I decided to use the Repel trick in order to have a 50-50 shot at an Axew or an Aeron. I didn't have a Pokemon that was level 30 in my party, so I decided to level up the Basculin I had from the Frillish hunt and use him in the front of my party, and after 4,950 encounters, I found a shiny Axew.
Oh my god! Shiny Axew! Let's go!
I was rewatching Attack on Titan while hunting, and thought it was fitting that I named him Aaron after catching him. I trained up Aaron for a bit, which he ended up evolving to a Fracture, and while preparing for the future fights, I realized a weakness that could be filled in my team. Earlier in the story, we passed by Reversal Mountain and a Pokemon that could strengthen our flying coverage, as Unfezant is not necessarily a strong Pokemon. The Pokemon I'm referring to is Skarmory. The first problem with Unfezant is its typing, as most types hit it for neutral damage, while Skarmory resists most types and is only weak to 2 of them. The second problem being the fact that Unfezant doesn't have any special stat going for it, as although its base speed and attack is not bad, its bulk and defense are lacking, while Skarmory has an amazing defense stat paired with its good typing. For this hunt, I didn't have a member at party at level 38, so I decided to level up the Magnemite we got with Magnet Pull earlier in the game paired with the Repel trick and use that to get us around a 90 to 10 chance of finding a Skarmory over a Vibrava. I gave Magneton a Smoke Ball and it was time to start hunting. This was a super short hunt, which I was very thankful for, and after 1,281 encounters, we found Larry the Skarmory.
Oh! Shiny Skarmory, bro. That was so fast.
After training my team up to the level cap, I decided to challenge Drayden in Opelucid City for the Legend Badge. After taking out the trainers in the gym and evolving Aaron, it was time to fight Drayden. I opened the battle with Marley, hoping to sweep as I go for a Swords Dance and an Earthquake, which Oko's a Dredigan. Once Flygon came out, I realized a huge mistake in my plan as I overlooked the fact that Flygon knows Earth Power and I would not outspeed the Flygon due to my decreasing speed nature, so I decided to get a free switch into Larry as Flygon goes for Earth Power. Realizing that Flygon can't do much damage, I start to chip away at its health with Iron Head, and I also set up one set of spikes. Flygon then went for an unsuspecting Dragon Tail, bringing Marley back out, where I thought Flygon would go for an Earth Power, but I forgot that my Rocky Helmet brought Flygon into potion range, so Drayden heals up and I go for more Iron Heads. I took a calculated chance on the fact that a crit Rock Slide wouldn't kill, where I calculated correctly, with Larry being brought down to 4 HP. Drayden gets super lucky, hitting me with a crit and a flinch here, forcing me to switch into Frank. I use a Surf and then go back and forth for a bit, using a Recover while getting hit with crunches, hoping to get healthy enough to 2-hit the Flygon, where out of nowhere, Flygon then goes for a random Dragon Tail, which Frank ends up avoiding, allowing us to kill Flygon without any danger, leaving us with Drayden's Haxorns left.
He's going Dragon Tail. He's going Dragon Tail right now. He avoided the attack! Frank, you're a GOAT!
I go for a Psychic and get hit with a crit Dragon Tail, which pulls out Magnezone. I decide to go for a Metal Sound, predicting Drayden to go for a Dragon Dance, where I can then kill Haxorus with one Flash Cannon, earning us a Legend Badge in our hardest battle yet. After defeating Drayden, Team Plasma shows up and covers Opelucid City in giant spikes. I take down some Plasma Grunts and Zinzlin before receiving the most important item in all of Unova, where I definitely didn't get robbed right after receiving them. I then made my way to Humilao City, where I had to chase down Marlin before entering his gym and absolutely destroying him. I would have liked to say that our final gym badge was a hard-fought battle, but Marlin stood no chance to Sigmund, earning us our final gym badge and forcing him to swim away in defeat. After pummeling Marlin, I made my way back to the seaside cave to find where Team Plasma was hiding, where me and Hugh then infiltrate their base and take down Zinzlin and his grunts once again. Team Plasma runs away, where we follow them into the giant chasm and infiltrate their base once again, where we find Colress and are forced to fight him. Going into this fight, I was a little uneasy. The fight went smoothly besides a blunder on my part, where I used Earthquake on his air balloon Klinklang. Apart from that, there was never a huge threat during the fight and we took care of him pretty easily. After defeating Colress, we made our way into the giant chasm chamber, where we find Ghetsis fusing Kyurem and Zekrom together. I wish I could say the fight was tough, but Black Kyurem went down to one Dragon Claw, and it was finally time to fight Ghetsis. Ghetsis opens up with Cofagrigus, and I send out Aaron. Cofagrigus could be the only Pokemon to pose a huge problem, but only if Aaron doesn't Oko him. But luckily for us, he goes down in one Dragon Claw, setting up a preview of what the rest of the fight is going to look like. Ghetsis then sends out Hydreigon, which goes down in one hit as well. Seismitoad comes out, and we were able to set up a Dragon Dance while taking an Earthquake before we take him out with one Dragon Claw. Ghetsis' remaining Pokemon are all taken down in one hit, as our Haxorus is too strong for them, earning us the victory and the passage through Victory Road to the Pokemon League. Before reaching the league, Hugh wanted to get stomped on one last time, so we fulfill his need to be destroyed, sweeping his team with a couple of Rock Slides and Dragon Claws from Aaron and Marley, and after that battle, we finally made it to the top of Victory Road and the Pokemon League. I leveled up my team to the level cap, and it was finally time to face the Elite Four, the toughest challenge in the whole game. I decide to challenge Chantal first, as she leads with Cofagrigus and I lead with Tony. I use a Flamethrower to bring Cofagrigus down to the yellow, where Cofagrigus responds with a Psychic, bringing us down to 50%. Chantal uses the full restore, and we take down the Cofagrigus with 2 more Flamethrowers. Golurk comes out, and I know that it's going to use Earthquake, so I decide to switch into Sigmund, which is holding an Air Balloon, giving us a free switch and hitting a 2-hit knockout before tanking a Brick Break. Next is Chandelure, which I had planned my whole strategy around and spent 2 hours on trying to avoid a death, but Sigmund decided to deviate from my original plan and make up a plan of its own, and ended up hitting a crit Volt Switch which took her down in one shot, giving us free passage to switch into Aaron to take down Drifblim with a Dragon Gem boosted Dragon Claw, earning us our first Elite Four battle win without any deaths. I then challenge Grimsley as he starts with Liepard and I start with Marley. Liepard goes for a Fake Out and I go for a Swords Dance the next turn. I gave Marley a soft sand before this fight, so life bar definitely goes down to 1 earthquake. Next out is Crocodile, who hits us with his Intimidate, but that is still not enough to not get taken down in 1 hit. Both Scrafty and Bisharp stood no chance to our +1 soft sand boosted earthquakes as we take down Grimsley in an easy second Elite Four battle. I chose to fight Caitlyn next, and she opens up with her Musharna while I send out Aaron. Musharna goes down in 2 hits from X-Scissor while Aaron falls asleep due to Musharna hitting us with a yawn. I then switch into Marley, which I gave in a Spear Bear before the battle, just in case the Sigilyph ends up freezing us with its Ice Beam. I set up a Sword Stance to take down Sigilyph in 1 hit with a Rock Slide before tanking 2 Ice Beams while not getting hit with the Freeze, meaning I didn't even need that Spear Berry. Caitlyn then sends out Reuniclus, who I know is going to use Focus Blast, so I decide to get a little cheeky and switch into Sigmund, who will survive on 1 HP, and hit a Magnet boosted Volt Switch, where we then switch into Frank, who nullifies another Focus Blast, allowing us to take down a Reuniclus. Finally is Caitlyn's Gothitelle, who gets taken down in 2 Shadow Balls, earning us yet another easy Elite Four battle. Last but not least is Marshall and his fighting types. I open with Aaron, and Marshall sends out Throw. I set up a Dragon Dance and eat a Bulldoze before I take down Throw with a Dragon Claw, and he sends out Mienshao next. Mienshao also goes down to a Dragon Claw, and Marshall then sends out Conkeldurr, who also receives the same fate as the first 2. Marshall's last Pokemon is Sock, who needs a little more work due to its Sturdy ability. I pop his Sturdy ability and take a big hit from Payback. I then switch into Frank, who was able to easily take down Sock in 2 Psychics, earning us our final Elite Four win. This team has finally made it to the end and has stuck with me for our entire journey, and they can finally lay it all out in this last battle for all the marbles. Everything we've done so far has led up to this point, and it was finally time to challenge Iris. Iris opens with her Hydreigon, and I send out Aaron. Aaron barely OHKOs the Hydreigon, and Lapras is next. I decide to switch into Sigmund, who gets hit with a soft Ice Beam. I then go for a Discharge, leaving her on 1 HP before I get hit by a Sing, putting me to sleep. Iris heals up as Sigmund stays asleep for another turn. Lapras hits us with a hard Surf, and we get super unlucky as Sigmund does not wake up, and Lapras hits us with 1 final Surf to take Sigmund out. I then decide to send out Tony to hit a Head Smash, and then Sacrifice, but he ends up missing the Head Smash, allowing Lapras to hit us with another Surf. Due to that miss, if Tony misses this next Head Smash, it could be game over for us, but Tony comes to his senses and takes one for the team, ending the Lapras' reign while going out in style. Iris sends out Drayden next, and I respond by sending out Aaron, who was able to take it out with 1 Dragon Claw. Next is Iris' Archeops, where we hit it with a Dragon Claw, expecting to bring it just under quarter HP, but we end up OHKOing it, coming in clutch as Aggron comes out next. I switch into Frank, and Aggron goes for a double-edged, doing no damage. I then take out Aggron with 2 Surfs as Iris sends out her final Pokemon, Haxorus. Iris' Haxorus is super scary, as if she sets up 2 Dragon Dances, she can sweep our whole team, outspeeding and OHKOing everyone. But fortunately for us, we brought the GOAT with us. I switch into Larry as Haxorus goes for a Dragon Dance. I go for an Iron Head as Haxorus goes for a premature Dual Chop, getting hit by a Rocky Helmet twice and going down to 1 more Iron Head, completing my Pokemon Black 2 Shiny Hardcore Nuzlocke. This journey was incredibly fun, and I learned so much more about this game and Pokemon in general. I hope you all enjoyed this run as much as I did, and I hope to do more in the future. Just maybe not Shinylocks, as this took an absurdly long amount of time between hunting, playing through the game, strategizing, and editing this video. Our Pokemon entered the Hall of Fame, and this is the end. Thank you for watching.